everyone, it's Kenzy Knoxx and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be following Joni Young's step-by-step how to paint apple tree by the sea acrylic tutorial, and you can find this on YouTube under Joni Young Art YouTube channel. And let's just jump on in. So let's begin. This is a beautiful setting with the bike right here, with the apple tree in the background, the sea's over here, and the land kind of comes down. And I've already primed my canvas with just one layer of white acrylic paint, so I just used white because I don't have a primer, but that's okay. So you should probably prime your canvas first because we won't be covering the entire canvas very strongly with paint, so you want some sort of base layer on there. So also, if you've already primed your canvas or you're ready to prime your canvas, just put some additional white for the painting. So go ahead and grab your white. Put some on there. And you'll need twice as much white as you will any other color on the palette. Just a little note for beginners. That's something I just learned. Okay, so you have 16 by 20. This is an 11 by 9 canvas, or mixed media paper. So we'll need turquoise. So go ahead and grab your turquoise. Teal, she said you can use teal too, but teal is a more dirty color. It's more muddy. I wouldn't recommend it, so I'd go with turquoise if you have it. If you have teal and you don't have turquoise, then obviously teal will be fine. But go ahead and add that to your palette. Just doing a little drop. And then just kind of start. She put it straight onto her canvas, but I'm not going to. And then she adds light yellow green, which, let's see, I have lime tree green, or lime tree green, which I'm going to use. And put that on my palette. She puts this directly on her canvas, but my canvas is standing up, and mine isn't so thick-bodied, so it would drip down, and I don't want that. Okay, let's get some phthalo blue. This is a very popular color, phthalo blue, so if you don't have this, I suggest getting you some because a lot of artists use this for their sky. Okay, and what she's doing is taking the paint, and she put the phthalo blue up here, and then a long chunk of that teal or that turquoise right here in a line like this, and then she took that lime tree green and put it down here.
Feel free to change up the colors slightly if you want for this painting. And I'm just going to start blending the green down at the bottom.
Okay, so the green, she did a line like this,
finally work my way
and then it works.
so that it kind of gradually gets darker at the top in the sky. And then I'll be coming in with a little bit of white for some soft looking clouds.
And I don't know if I'm going to rinse out my brush just so I don't carry that green into the sky. And so she does the sky, so it's cool. Actually, it creates an effect right away. Actually, yeah, I've never really noticed this before, but when you create a wave like this, it creates movement in the sky. And so if you create it so it's all in the same direction, a stroke, it looks like this is farther away coming up, like if you go to wide. It looks like the sky is coming at you from a distance. If you keep all the lines based around here. Oh, and I need that phthalo blue up in the corner. So she put a little phthalo blue up here. She just paints this entire corner. I'm going to wet my brush a little bit so my paint slides a little easier, but I think this is a dry brush technique that she's using, so just be careful on that water because you don't want to go past this little corner here. So we're just painting up just a little into the sky. Trying to keep those brush strokes looking the same if possible. Okay, I'm going to grab some more lime tree green and work that into the ground because I want my land to come up higher. I'm just going to grab some paint. Just that.
So after washing my brush off, I just scooped up some titanium white, and I'm going to create little scoops like this.
Okay, so grab some of your white.
fluffy looking clouds.
And just
And just
scumble.
feel really free with your brush
Oh,
and just
it's
add
dripping
some
already. Be
clouds
careful
all
of those
over.
drips. You
Keep
can always
them
wipe them
sort
off.
of diagonal along
I'm
with
going to dry off my
the
brush.
green of the sky and this painting in general. The overall perspective of this painting is the hillside coming down on a slant and the sky like that as well. Then just a little hint of that sea down at the bottom on the left side just goes straight across, and there's just a little section there. And all I'm doing here is really, really lightly blending and going softly over that wet white paint and the clouds with my filbert brush. Then you can see here I quickly, and I do this quickly, I switch over quickly to my mop brush, my dry mop brush, and go over and blend some more while it's still wet, just to give it more of a blurry look. So it's quite blended out now, and I'm going to that wet white paint and the clouds.
So then she takes her mop brush, just kind of brushes them.
Very quickly, and I do this quickly. I switch over quickly to my mop brush, my dry mop brush, and go over and blend
Just to make them fuzzy.
Just to give it more of a blurry look.
Not doing so hot with these clouds.
Now, and I'm going to come in with my number 50 filbert again, and pick up some of my neon orange and a little bit of white, and start adding hints of that tinted white for some clouds in the sky as well, and blend it out. So I just start right above that, blend some more while it's still wet, just to give it more of a blurry look. So it's quite blended out now, and I'm going to come in with my
I'm going to rinse off both brushes. And then she grabs neon orange. So, let's see, neon orange. So I have my neon orange. If you don't have neon orange, you could probably just use orange, or vermilion would work really nicely. So a neon orange, and she takes little neon orange and mixes it with her white on her palette. She does this with her large filbert brush. So I'm going to use my filbert brush. I have this filbert brush, which is probably a size like 10 or 11. So I'm just going to mix my neon orange and white. Mix that to get a pale orange.
50 filbert again, and
Pale neon orange, you can see.
Orange and a little bit of white, and start adding hints of that tinted white for some clouds in the sky as well, and blend it out. So I just start right above that green and just work my way up.
Ooh, it looks yellow. I'm doing the lightest touch, barely transferring any paint. If anything, you're probably trying to just like glaze the white clouds. So I'm going to get a little water on my brush. Try to create a little reflection.
Go along, but that's just the first stage and the first
Okay,
layer.
let's see. So she's adding some more orange and white
And then I'm
down
just
below.
Go, after I do this, load my palette up and just quickly
Here,
go over some
over
of the colors
here,
that we're going to be using here pretty soon.
and then over here.
Colors we're going to be using titanium.
Okay, so in the painting, the final painting, it's like a white spot like mine, like right here. So if you have this, great. If you don't, you can add it, or you can wait and follow along with hers. She's adding in white right here, but I have the space, so I don't need to. So the bike, keep in mind, the bike will be right here, and then your tree is going to be sitting up on a mound, up on the mound of land. So your tree is going to be right up in here. So if you're worried about your clouds, don't worry too much, especially right in this area, because this is where the tree, the apple tree will be. And then down here is where the bike will be, and then we're going to have a shoreline right here. Okay, so now she's adding green, gold, lemon yellow. So I don't, green, gold, I don't know what color that is. It might be, it's like a darker green, but I can't tell. It might be a marsh green, but until she puts it out on the canvas, I can't really tell. Her lemon yellow, I'm going to use just yellow. It just looks like a soft yellow. Probably yellow and white, maybe. Not that much white. It might just be a little bit of white, but I'm not going to add it. And then she adds yellow ochre. If you don't have this in your mix of paints, you should definitely invest in some. Yellow ochre is a very popular color, and it works well on almost every painting. Then she also adds burnt sienna. This is something I need to buy. I don't have any, but I'm going to use this red oxide as a substitute. As a side note, burnt sienna used to be a red color, so it's like a red-brown, and they changed it over to brown, apparently. And then black and sap green. So black, and I'm not using my jet black. I'm just using a black that doesn't have too much pigment, just because this painting isn't a black and white painting. And then sap green, I'm going to use my dark deep green. So for sap green, it's just a deep green. So I think I will add that marsh green for the green gold color, because she already has a green color. So I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use olive green. That's the color I was looking for. It's similar to marsh green. You can use marsh green too. I just want that muddy green color. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Okay, take your filbert. Oh, a little round brush.
I'm going to take yellow ochre, burnt sienna, a little bit of black, not completely.
So I've got my little round brush. It's a size 2. I'm going to go ahead and wet my brush, tap off the excess water, and take your, you know what, I'm going to add some burnt umber to my palette, because I do have this.
I'm just going to pull, press, and wiggle, and then let off on my brush, and let off on the
We're going to make the tree.
branches get out.
So the tree starts around here. So don't worry too much about the base of the tree right here that we're drawing in, because there's going to be some flowers here. Just make sure it's along the slope. And then you're going straight up. And then we're going to, once we get to a little bit up, I'm going to branch over this way, split the tree, or have the main tree going this way. And then I'm going to switch, probably going to switch brushes. It's not a very detailed brush.
It's going to be thicker to start the branches from the tree trunk, and then skinnier.
Yeah, I'm going to switch brushes. I'm going to use a number 2 angular brush for now.
Here, I want my tree to be a little bit on the smaller side, because I really like the feeling of the sky in this, and I didn't want to overpower the whole painting with a huge tree. I wanted to kind of have everything flow together nicely, but you guys can paint your tree as big as you want and change it.
I'm using the reference photo to paint this.
So I'm going to make sure that the tree trunk is dark on this right side, so it'll be more in shadow. I'll add a little bit, highlight it.
Oh my gosh, you guys couldn't see this whole time. I'm so sorry.
And you'll notice that the way I'm pulling my branches is out towards the water. I want to give it that feeling that it's, and the wind has been blowing that way towards the water for a long time, making those branches and the tree kind of start to form that way in that direction, so that you feel movement in this painting. And I also want to mention at the base of the tree, we're going to have a shadow from that tree, the tree trunk and the tree itself. So I'm just going to use a darker color. Right now it's just whatever was left over in my brush that was dry, and you can just see sort of a line at the base of the left side of the tree and the right side of the tree. I'm going to be using some green later on.
Oh, she goes later.
Sap green.
Okay.
And making that shadow a little bit more exaggerated.
Yellow ochre. I would add some yellow ochre. And wash my brush off. I'm going to highlight my tree with yellow ochre. So she creates a windy tree. So get into your yellow ochre. Get a little thick bodied, so it's kind of tough to work with. But then we're going to just go off this side. Kind of make the suggestion that it's twisty. and just highlight some of the branches, not all of them, just some of them. You create new branches. These will mostly be hidden. And then I'm going to go in with my burnt umber. Go back over these. Okay, so now we are going to add the base of the tree. So we're going to shade the base. So if you could take an angular brush, that's my size 2 angular brush. I'm going to grab my burnt sienna, or burnt umber, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to shade this area in just a little bit. Oh, is she adding green? I think I might be adding that marsh green just a little bit.
Okay, so now that I've added that shadow down below, I'm going to switch over and use my oval mop brush. It's dry. I'm going to take some black sap green. I'll use a little bit of my green gold as well later on, and I'm just going to start the beginning stages here for the foliage and the leaves on this apple tree. So I just want to be mindful that I'm doing a little bit I want to do this.
I'm going to use a stippling brush
so that I, again,
to add my leaves.
Power the canvas and the painting with.
Okay, I'm going to grab my black.
And what I'm going to start to do is pull, tap, and flick a little bit to create some more of that whimsical movement with the tree. And I'm using a little bit of my green gold now. I'm not washing my brush out. I've always got a hint of the color I've used before in my brush when I add another one. So I'm just going to start to add lighter areas to the leaves, a little bit at a time, first with the green gold, and then I'm going to be coming in with a little bit of white, yellow, and green gold for sunlit leaves that are going to be really bright and have a lot of highlights to them.
And so the tree, you want the tree to come out to, one branch goes all the way out. So I'm going to add some of my sap green now, some of my dark green.
And I just want to go right down to the bottom of the tree here and add some more.
And then I'm just going to go over just some areas. A little more sap green or dark green. A little more green. And some more green in my tree too. Okay, and now I'm going to add some of the marsh green. Oh, she doesn't add this. Never mind. Oops. Okay, so wipe off your brush. Get that paint out and pick up the bright green. Just a little bit. And we're going to add that into these ones and over here. And up along here.
Contrast, and then I'm going to tap with my brush to create that foliage texture, and then pull and flick a little bit for possibly little bits of grass or flower stems.
Okay, so I'm going to use my filbert brush, and I'm going to grab some of that marsh green here. I'm just going to create some foliage. over here. Just a little bit.
And I'm going to add a little bit of foliage down here at the base of the hill. This is inspired by the beach close to our house where we live, and there's a big apple tree down there, and right now it's actually full of beautiful fragrant apple blossoms. Soon there will be apples, and maybe I'll take some pictures and share them with you guys. It's a really pretty spot, and there's tall grass and little flowers down at the bottom of the hill by the sand there on the beach. So I just want to add a little hint of that as well. I'm going to come in here now, and
So her landline, she's starting to create the landline. And so she just put some foliage down here. Let's see. So her foliage starts like here. Take it to you. And it comes all the way over. I'm doing that with the marsh green. So we're just going to kind of just press and flick up. Press and flick. Just lightly. Just pressing and flicking.
Now what I want to do is concentrate on building up more of a shadow and base where our bike is going to be. The bike is
This is going to be where the bike is
like
going to be. So
yellow, and in order for that to show up, we need to have a darker base or underpainting here on the right side. So if we didn't do that, then the bike would just sort of be lost and be very flat looking against the light green yellow hill in the background. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. You need something darker for something lighter to show up, and you need something lighter in the background for something darker to show up. So it's all about creating contrast in order to get that light and shadow to work.
and I'm adding some of that dark green.
So I'm going to come in with my highlights now, and I'm going to use a little bit of green, gold, and white. I think this is my favorite combination. I love green, gold with white. You can also add, and I may add a little bit of
And the green, gold with white. The apple tree. So I need some more. Now we're going to take the olive green with our stippling brush. We are just going to add some in. Right here. Not sure what color. This is supposed to be like a highlight. Trying to make it fuzzy. And then you can add some white to your green. Okay, so now I'm going to add some lime green. Just to the ends. A little bit of the white again. The white is just going to go in here randomly. Just breaking it up a little. I'm taking my filbert brush.
Okay, back to my little round brush. I'm going to take a combination of
She
my
took a little bit of the sap green,
a little bit of yellow ochre,
dark green,
maybe a little bit of white, and add a nice sunny bright highlight on the front of this tree trunk.
a little watered down. I'm taking my liner brush, add yellow ochre again. Go over those highlights that we had. I don't think I'm just going to hit this one.
After adding a few more branches, shadows and highlights to the tree trunk, I'm going to come down below first with my little brown brush here and sprinkle in some burnt sienna black, maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. I want to start working on the base of this hill and build up the shadow and contrast a little bit more and saturation. I'm going to be switching over to a bigger brush. It's going to be my little oval mop brush. And just start tapping in for some foliage. I'll be pulling and flicking up for those long beachy blades of grass and tapping. So you can use a few different brush strokes to create this. And this again is just that bit of contrast and shadow we need in order for our bike to really show up when we add that. So that you can see how I just kind of pull, flick, and kind of curve with my brush as I'm doing it, so that you get that feeling of movement and breezy by the ocean or by the sea feel. I will be adding a few little suggestions of some flowers, nothing that really stands out and has too much detail, and I'll kind of play around with that with a few different colors. And then ultimately I'm going to be adding a few apples down at the base of the hill, in the basket, the base of the tree, and you guys will see a little bit later on how everything kind of just flows together nicely.
Then I'm going to grab some of the green.
Okay, so I've got my Arteza Crimson Red here. Keep in mind you can use any red that you want, and I'm going to be using this with a little bit of black, a little bit of white and yellow. Eventually I'll be using a little bit of my neon red as well for the colors of the apples. A little filbert brush here, the smallest one I've got. You can use any small brush that you want. It's
Red.
just for creating.
So I got my apple red, a red apple. Taking my filbert brush, this is a number 8. We're going to make some water, so actually wet your brush, tap off the drip, and grab some turquoise. Oh, and she's mixing it with the, I don't know what she's doing. She has a little bit of green in there.
The smallest one I've
This
got.
is the blue
Use
and
any
yellow.
small brush that you want. It's just for creating a little bit of water coming up on the shore here. I've got my yellow, white, and my bright permanent blue. I'm going to start making these big scoops towards us in the foreground, and then making smaller little pulls with my brush back and forth as it gets further away towards the horizon. This kind of gives you that real sense of pull and movement and soft, gentle waves coming and crashing on the shore. I will be using some white to add the foam on
And some
the
white.
tops and the ends of those waves in the water here pretty soon. But I just want to create a little bit more depth first with my blue and green. So I switched over to a larger filbert brush now. I think this one's a number 6. And I'm going to start taking a generous amount of titanium white and working on the ends of the waves here in the water just to create that sense of foam and shallow water.
Just taking some white now on my brush. The blue. Make it very light. And just some white.
Now I want to take just a little bit of that crimson red with my titanium white, blend the two together, and just make a soft pinky peachy sand color, and then add some more white for my waves. I'm going to start adding a little bit of that peachy pinky color up in the sky.
Okay, so I'm going to take
right
some white,
above the horizon,
some
working
orange,
my way up towards the far right, just above the
some
tree.
yellow.
I'm not going to bring it up too much higher than that. I want the main amount of the sky to be blue. And then I'm going to turn my brush over and place my hand over it and kind of use it here like a palette knife. So you can see how I turn it over like that. Load the brush on the bottom, barely touch, and just lightly pull and drag to make it look foamy.
Okay, so I'm going to grab the white. I'm just going to pull and drag the white. Okay, so using a fan brush, you want the one that fans out like that. You're gonna grab some yellow ochre. And then sweep that up. I don't like that brush very much. I'm gonna go back to my filbert brush. With that, tap off the drip, pick up some yellow. Very carefully.
Black with my greens and yellows down here to build this up a little bit darker. And ultimately and eventually I'm going to be adding a little hint of delicate flavors to my apples. So I just took a bit of...
Okay, so now we're gonna take a round brush. So grab your round brush. This is a number 6. And we get that a little wet. Tap off the drip and pick up your red. We're gonna do the apples just on the tip. And then you can place them wherever you'd like. Wherever you think there'd be some apples. Get more paint as you need it. Keep that good.
Add cadmium yellow and a little bit of white, and the red apples are still wet, so it's kind of with this particular one today.
And
so I
with
want to make sure I'm
apples
doing an apple in
down
front
here.
of other apples. This will give it more depth and make it look 3D. My yellow ochre, and
so I'm going to use this liner brush. I'm going to get it wet. Make sure your bristles are wet. I'm going to take the yellow. I'm going to go ahead and make a circle, and the circle is going to be right almost where the dirt is. So one bike here, one tire bike here. You can go lightly so that when you go over it again, it's semi-transparent. And then you can draw your other one, your other bike tire, back this way, set back a little bit. And then when you're comfortable with them, you can draw them, mix them up with the white and some yellow. Just so you have their placement there.
I'll be using white as well and a little bit of black for shadows to mix in. So you guys can decide how big you want your bike to be. The bigger your bike is going to be in the foreground, the closer you'll feel to that bike. So that can actually create a lot of perspective and make it really.
It's a little arc. Then, so it's another line up this way. Then a Z, essentially, down here. I'm going to grab a flat brush. So this is a number 2 flat brush. I'm going to be painting a basket with that brown and red mixed together. You can see that. The basket is just going to sit here on top of the tire. Just a little basket.
What style of painter you are, what stage and
Take some yellow
level you're at. So I love reading you guys' comments, and of course if you have any questions at all,
Flip it over.
feel free to leave them below. I'm usually really good at getting back to you guys right away. I'm just working on the basket now, guys, and I'm using my burnt sienna black, a little bit of yellow ochre and white, just doing little taps. I've got a filbert rake brush, and I've also got that fan rake brush, so you could use either one of those to make your basket have that weaved look to it. But here I'm using the filbert rake to create a little bit more shadow.
I'm going to grab this little filbert brush
to make it stand out more.
I'm going to grab some of the green ochre, or the olive green, and I'm going to create some foliage in the basket. I'm going to layer that, so once that dries, I'll create another layer. And we're just grabbing the white, and we're just going around the bike again. Okay, and then we're going to take some white and then creating a line here to here, line for the seat. And a little gear. Do a little white, do a blob here, and do my hand. It's out of the basket. Oh, we're going to grab some yellow, put that on the seat and the handrail. Front of the tire, top of the tire. Okay, and now we're just going to color everything in yellow. Yellow is very transparent, so it can be frustrating sometimes. So if you find that it's not turning yellow, just wait for it, or you're dragging out the white paint. Just wait for the white to dry, and if it's still too transparent, then you can add another layer of white, and then add your yellow paint. So here, you can see I just took off the white, so I'm just going to add white there. Wash off my brush real quick, and add some white to my brush, and tap in the white over here to fill it in. Then we're going to add some more yellow down here. This big spoon. Sorry guys, I don't know why it keeps doing that. Okay, so now we're just going to add some shadows in black. So I'm taking the black, just going under the seat. Oops. Oops. Oh gosh. That was some white. So under here, right here. If you have some more white, you can highlight some more too. We've add some marsh green and add some grass. We're behind some grass over here. Yellow ochre, basket. So you can easily remove the mark. Suppose painting it on, paint it off.
Okay, so now I'm just going to make a bit of pink with my red and white, add a few little dots and dabs here for some flowers, and I'm not sure what kind of flowers those are, but I will be adding some little daisies here pretty soon. I'll start building up some daisies, and these flowers are really easy to do, and they look pretty and add a lot of atmosphere to a painting, I think.
Okay, so now she's just putting in some flowers. I'm gonna plop in some flowers along the shore. You can add in flowers wherever you think would be appropriate. You can use a liner brush, your filbert brush, whatever you choose. If we go to a small bright, you can do little dabs of white. a more defined flower.
And just little hints and suggestions of some more grass and flowers, and then sweeping out the rest of that light pink in my brush out into the sky. I think this is just really...
Okay, so now I'm just gonna fix up some of these. I think there's just too many flowers here, so I'm gonna take some of that green, swipe it back up into here. Just to show that some of them are there, but they're hidden. I was just using my marsh green. Okay, so as we're wrapping up, we're just going to add a few more highlights to the painting. So I'm just adding some more white. And I'm just adding some more to the wheel, just to make it more seen through the grass. And on the back side too, just adding a little more yellow or a little more white, just for those highlights and the color of the bike. Just defining everything a little bit more, highlighting and shadowing contrast. Just some final details. And now I'm adding just a little more black, just to add some shadow to the bike. So pick up your black and just do a little more of those black lines, just more defining of the characteristics of the bicycle. I'm also going to pick up some yellow and add that to the bike as well, just adding a little more color to the bicycle. Just a little more that's needed, I feel. You might not have to do this, you might be done your painting right now, but I'm just adding just a little more, just to make it stand out a little bit better. Okay, and that about wraps up my painting, so I hope you enjoyed this YouTube tutorial. I hope you come again, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Okay, bye!